The views expressed on this episode, as with all episodes of We Hate Your Baby Daddy, are based solely on our personal opinions and shit we heard in the streets.
The content here should not be taken as indisputable fact. This show is for entertainment purposes only, so enjoy and don't come for us.
Welcome back to another episode of We Hate Your Baby Daddy with Bree and D.
Hello, hello, hello.
So today's episode is going to be about the royals, those royals, the Mountbatten line of royals. We're going to talk about Prince Philip, King Charles, and Prince William. But before we jump into that, as always, we have some life updates and things. What's going on in your world, Dee?
Nothing. We're just basically prepping the kiddo for preschool. She should be starting it soon because she's kind of like at a weird age. So I'm going to have her start it in the spring and then continue in the
Aww.
fall because God knows she needs it. And turns out PCS wasn't kind of like ignoring us. He's actually been legitimately very ill. So yeah, I was on a FaceTime with him and he's like completely gray with his eyes hollowed out. He was like, "Yeah, I've been sick." I'm like, oh.
He's a mess.
Yeah, I was like, oh. But yeah, we're like chill right now. We're having an okay co-parenting relationship. I kind of wish it was like an easygoing friendship only because it would make my life easier. But
Absolutely.
it's just harder to constantly like have that voice in the back of my head, like, watch what you say. He might use it against you. Like don't get too comfortable. He might use that type of like what just like you just like going back into like, oh, we're talking like people as like trying to stab you in the back. So that's very stressful having to deal with him like a chess piece more than a person. Like I really hate having to manipulate people to just survive. And that's just kind of been like my baseline with the people that are in my life. And I really hate doing that.
I know exactly what you mean because that's the thing. Is like it's not that you want to be like besties with your baby daddy. It's just that I want you to be a dad and just be kind to me and make things easier for us to raise our child. And so, but like you said, you can't get too buddy buddy with them because you never know how they're gonna like. One time, Junkie Crashy, who now has it in his mind that like I'm always drunk or something. Like he's projecting. So he one time I don't let him like really in the house so much anymore because he'll come in and say, "Is that a new bottle of vodka on the counter? Like, is you just have a fresh bottle every week?" And I'm like, not only is that not the case, but even if it was, so what? Am I like you drunk driving with our baby? Like so sloppy drunk that you just don't even know what you're doing half the time? Like am I that? No. So mind your own business, get out of my face and my place. Ugh. I know exactly what you mean. The backstabbing of it all. So it's like you just have to be kind of fake with them for things to be cool.
Yeah, and it's just kind of weird because, like, again, this isn't somebody that like I had like a one night stand with and just had a baby with. This is like a man I've known for years and have been intimate with
Right.
for years. So it's strange to kind of go from like that to how can I say like corporate talk.
Yeah, we talk to each other like we're an HR
Yeah,
professionals.
like this man has watched me on the toilet. It's weird to go from that to HR. So
Yeah, like this man saw like our baby like plop out of there. So
yeah, he was holding my leg. It's very strange to reach that type of intimacy and having to go like back to baseline. But I think that's like a strength that women have. Like we can take
just
emotions
do
out of people. They
anything.
say that we're emotional, but men can't do that. They hold grudges like little
They
girls.
really do. And they're so like insecure and sensitive. And it's like, if I sat around crying about like everything that's ever happened to me, I'd never get anything done. But with men, they're like, oh no, my like childhood girlfriend from kindergarten hurt my feelings. I can never love properly again. Like, get the fuck out of here.
That's so awkward too. Oh yeah, I might have to basically visit my ex MIL because he was like, oh yeah, she's kind of asked about you. She keeps asking about you. I'm like, that must be very awkward.
That must be why she keeps drunk texting you like, hey, miss you.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to go visit her though, because like
That'd be
again, like our
nice.
relationship isn't the best, but that's kind of like a
Yeah, you guys used to
motherly.
be close.
Yeah, it's a motherly figure. Like I won't be like again buddy buddy. It'll still be kind of like corporate speak, but it's kind of sad. So I will
It's
see
nice
it.
to have a good relationship with, like, your kids' grandparents, whereas I have his mom blocked, so I just really can't stand the woman, as we'll talk about on Mother's Day.
Yeah, like well, while we were in a relationship, they were very meddling, so it was kind of hard to see them as you know anything but. So now that like we're not in a relationship, I can probably kind of see them more as like peers and like we're still technically family. So yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you don't really have to deal with them like you used to.
No, no, thank God. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. It's like forgive me for saying this, but let's kick the shackles off my feet so I can dance.
I'm dead. Um, so in my situation lately, me and Junkie Karachi had a fight this weekend, and I should have known he was trying to like butter me up. He was like, "Oh, can I bring you some Starbucks? I'm stopping over there on the way." I'm like, "I guess." And so he brings it, and then he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm taking her for Easter weekend, and you can have her the next weekend." And I'm like, why are we doing it like this? He's like, well, because I have plans and I need, and I'm like, drunky crashy. When I have plans during the week, I have to pay a babysitter to come watch our baby. You can figure it out. Like, that's your weekend. You take her. Well, you change things all the time. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm not going to fight with you. Like, he starts getting aggressive, like, clapping his hands and like, getting all I'm like, "You just need to get the fuck
Not
out.
the
Get out of my house."
clapping. What the hell? He's
Yeah.
on
He just starts
daddies?
to get angry. You know how it's like the roids just fried his brain, so he's just always so aggro. So I'm like, "You can just get the fuck out." Um so he left, and I was really sad because, I mean, it's like one thing anybody knows about me is that I love Easter. That's the only holiday that I care about. I like to paint eggs and do Easter baskets. And last year, she was so little, but this year, she's walking around. I want to hide eggs. Well, the Red Scare wants to hide eggs for both of us to find because I love Easter. I dress up. She's going to dress up. Like, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm like, you know what? Fine, we'll just do it like the Friday before he takes her. Like, I'm not gonna let him ruin things because since he's the idiot that decided to take me to court, like, he's not gonna be able to have this kind of control anymore where he's like, oh, let's switch up weekends and I'm gonna do whatever I want and pay whatever child support I want. Like, there are gonna be controls in place going forward. So I'm like, you know what? Pick my battles. So when he dropped her off, he brought some food and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry that we fought." And I'm like, like, I don't want to talk to you, but okay. So, but everything's fine now, I guess.
That's good. I mean, that we kind of went through that phase where it's just like you just do things that irritate me so you can get some kind of attention. I feel like, and it's just like you have to completely gray rock them. Just like okay, if that's how you feel, that's fine. Whatever. Like do what you want at this point. I'm not fighting you. I don't have the energy anymore. Do you know how
Basically.
energy draining it is to have a child this age that you don't take care of full time? I have to do it and work.
Mhm.
So no, I'm not fighting with you. I know you have nothing else going on in your life, but
Exactly. Like one time he texted me at like 7:30. And I mean, I'm not always on my phone, especially when I have her, because why would I be? I'm being a mom. And I think it was like the night before she had woken up in the middle of the night, which she doesn't really do. And she woke up like several times, so it messed up my sleep. So he texted me. I didn't see it until the next morning. And so I just texted him back, and he was like, "Well, it took you long enough." And I'm like, "Okay." And then he like mentioned it again. And I was like, you know what? When you stay up all night with the baby waking up and your sleep is messed up and then the next day you go to bed at 7:30, then I'll understand why you take long to get back to me. He's like, I was just joking. God. Like, you're not funny. It's not funny. And seeing him after a long week of parenting and raising a child by myself, it just grates on my nerves. Like, no breaks. No breaks at all.
yeah,
So
he's out here like sexy red, and I'm here chained to the baby. Like, give me a fucking break, dude.
No, he really is out here like, "Fuck my baby mom." Like, "Bow, bow, bow,
Shit.
bow." I can't relate. I'm in the house, so I am in the house sad. Fuck my baby dad.
And I really was. I was breastfeeding. I couldn't go anywhere. She would take the bottle. And he's like angrily texting me, I know you're out there with other men. And she's like on my boob. And I'm like, going at the door. You just see girls driving by in an Altima. And you're like,
Twerking out the
oh,
window.
yeah. It's like, oh, I wish that were me.
Sad bow bows.
Yeah, because that was like the summer that Fuck Nigga Free came out. And I was like, oh, I'm Fuck Nigga
I'm fuck.
Free.
So dead. But anyway, we wanted to ask y'all listeners, we want to know, like, can you guys tell us, like, what do you want to hear in future episodes? You can tweet us, you can message us on Instagram or post on our Facebook, whatever. Like, who do you want to hear? Do you want to hear more historical episodes? Do you want to hear more current events? Like, what do you want to hear? Because we want to make the show, for you guys. So tell us what you want to hear. And we have a special episode coming up, as we've mentioned, the mother-in-law episode that we're gonna do for Mother's Day. But like more special episodes like that, like just give us some ideas so we can keep the show great.
Yeah, because I'm actually sacrificing myself. I'm going to get you guys new material. I'm going to actually visit my ex-mother-in-law to see what type of bullshit she's up to.
It's
So,
been a
come
long
on.
time. So you're gonna have some brand new
Sacrifice.
some brand new fresh material.
Oh, Jesus.
Also, leave a review. I love when we get reviews. Love to read them. They make our little hearts smile. Leave us a little 5 stars. Bloop, click it. Click. Moment of silence while you click the 5 stars. All right, moment's over. Did you have anything else to add, Dee?
Listen to our episodes, please. We reference them a lot. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, go back and listen to some of the past episodes. I know you guys aren't listening to all of them because I can see how many listens we have. But it helps create context and backstory so you can learn what PCS stands for or why Drunky Crashy is a Drunky Crashy. But otherwise, let's go ahead and jump into the episode. All right. So we're going to talk about the royal baby daddies. And he puts in the show notes the crown jewels of shit.
They are.
It's an accurate descriptor. So, baby daddies throughout history, as we've heard, they've, for the most part, been pretty shitty. They're not great in general. But once you put a crown on their head and give them money that they didn't earn, it's their birthright to have all this money and land, then they're like a certified fucking nightmare to deal with. Even if they're like decent overall, like to the kids, like being married to like a prince or a king, like it comes with additional like stressors having that type of person as your baby daddy, as we'll get into.
I can't even fucking imagine. Just like imagine an asshole with that much power. Like it's governmental power. It's like, oh my god, I cannot get away from this nigga if I try.
Right. They can have you like assassinated, allegedly. They can
Allegedly.
they can do all kinds of stuff. Have you stripped of your titles and shit. And so you didn't watch The Crown, but
No, I just saw like TikTok clips of it. I wanted to get into it, but it's
I
just seemed
found
like
it
a
entertaining.
really.
Yeah, I mean there are some parts that are slow, like the first season, but the acting's really good, and the people, the actors are like very very close to what they actually really look like in real life, and I found that entertaining.
It's actually kind of sweet. I'm probably gonna have to like set a couple days off because I like the binge watch thing. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to watch The Crown.
check it out. It's like it was it's like some of the things that they do, I'm like, how can these type of people call others like ghetto or low class when it's like, I mean, we'll get into it. We'll get into it.
It's gross. I wish I didn't know the things that I found out.
God, I don't even know who's worse. I mean, we'll figure out who's the worst at the end of the episode when we get into it. Okay, so we did do an episode about a royal, Henry VIII. Go back and listen to that one. Dee says he was like a medieval future, but without the shades and 500% more murders.
Yeah. People got hurt around Henry.
And the most recent royals are from the House of Windsor. That's just the current ruling family of Britain. They've been pretty controversial and more murdery, allegedly.
Allegedly.
This is just shit we heard in the streets, okay? Not indisputable
You're gonna
facts.
hear allegedly a lot with these people.
Because I don't want to get sued. And they do that, like, which we'll get into. But they have a lot of controversy and mess that you would think, if we were describing some of these things, you would think we're talking about a trailer park, but no, it's the royal family. So in this episode, we'll be featuring not quite the worst of the worst, although still pretty fucking bad and shocking. The most recent male descendants down the line from Prince Philip, who is dead as a doornail, Charles III, who is semi-dead. He's just hanging on to life.
He's got cancer, so I was like, oh, well, he's alive a little bit.
I don't know if I can call it a cancer. It's more like karma. We'll get into it. But
yeah,
he's clinging on to life. And then we got bald-headed little baby Prince William's bald-headed ass. And I was like reading the show notes and you're like, the granddaddy's the baby.
Granddaddy's the baby.
The what?
You never saw that from Jocelyn Hernandez when she was trying to explain something? She was like, if the grandmama is keeping the baby and the mama out in the streets, the grandmama's the baby. And I was like, yeah, the granddaddy's the baby in this situation.
That is so fucking funny. So we're gonna leave out the spares, like Prince Harry and Prince Andrew. We're just gonna leave them out of it. They have their own shit to sort out. Deep shit for Andrew, if you know what we mean.
You know.
Allegedly.
That was allegedly. That's in court documents. That man sweats.
Right. There's court documents about him being besties with Epstein, and we see the pictures of him dressed, I believe, in a certain way that would allude to one assuming that maybe he loved Nazis a lot. So anyway.
It goes with the family.
Right. It's in their blood. So let's start with the recently and for most, thankfully, deceased Prince Philip.
All right. So Prince Philip, he ain't no diva. We cannot call him king. We can't call him King Philip because he's a consort. I think that's hilarious. Like it feels like he's like a side nigga, doesn't it?
It does. Like, and that's supposed to be like an official title, but it does sound like, oh, you're just off to the side. You're like Prince Consort, King Consort. I don't even know. I don't even know really what it was. But
yeah, they just called him a prince. So like, we'll give you something, but we ain't the king. So yeah, this dude, he was born June the 10th, 1921, and he died April the 9th, 2021, and he lived for far too long. If you saw pictures of him, he was like purple and rotting. He got the rot, but he just kept going on. We don't know what was keeping him alive, but we really don't.
The blood of children.
The blood of children. It probably was. So I didn't know this, but did you know that he was born in Greece, and he's actually of the Greek and Danish royal family, and that was really bad for him because when he was born, it was the Greco-Turkish War going on, and yeah, his family was involved in that, and it was not going too well for them. Turkey was kicking their ass. So his dad and his entire family, they got permabanned from Greece because his family ate shit commanding the military there, and they all had to leave. So they're like, we don't really want you here. Go anywhere else. So they're like, oh, okay, we'll go to France or Germany and Britain. So for the remainder of his childhood, he just kind of bounced between those places. He doesn't speak Greek. He doesn't really look Greek, but he's a royal. He's an invader. He's there for
Right,
sure.
it's like they're probably not ethnically Greek. They were just there because they are colonizers, and that's what colonizers do. They just insert themselves in places, and yeah, I don't think he really claimed any kind of Greek heritage. He was just from there.
No. So while he was a kid and growing up in school, because they always have to, I guess, remark on the temperament of a prince or whatever, they said he was a know-it-all and kind of an asshole. But they always remark, but he was very polite about it. But I feel like that's every British person ever. They're very polite about being
That's
a dick.
true. In our group chat, shout out to our British friends.
We
But I
love
was
him.
talking to them. I'm like, you guys are like, they will roast you in the sweetest, most polite way. They'll be like, you're kind of dumb, isn't it?
It's like,
Like,
yes.
I get dragged by my edges in that group chat by the British girls.
But they're so sweet when they say, it, and they have that
So
pretty
sweet.
lilt to their tongue. Like when I see like a little voice note from one of the one of the
Yeah.
British girls, she's just like, "That's a really stupid thing to do. Why would you do that?" And I'm like, "Oh, oh,"
Why would you be so dumb?
and I'm like, "Jeez, Louise." But yeah, they said he was like that. But yeah, I feel like that's just like if you come from Britain, you're going to be a dick, but you're good at hiding it. If you know, you know. So his mom got thrown in an asylum after she developed schizophrenia, but she was the subject of constant spying from the government. So I don't think she had schizophrenia. I think she was paranoid for a reason, but she was a woman
Yeah.
back then and they just didn't give a shit. So they're like, get in the asylum.
Hysteria.
Yeah, just
She's
get in the asylum.
hysterical. Take
She's
out
like,
her
there's people in
uterus.
the walls. And 30 years later, they look back in their cottage where they live and they're like, oh, yeah, there actually were people in the wall.
Oh my
She didn't lie. So she spent time in that asylum for no reason. So Philip never really fucked with her after that. They just like, oh well, we forget about her.
terrible.
And his sisters, who aren't really like relevant, they were marriage fodder. They're royals. And they got married to German princes at the time, which which wasn't a good time to be married to German princes because they had Nazi ties.
Nazi ties. Allegedly.
Allegedly. So German prince. So as Big Philly grew up, he was known for his charm in his youth, and he was linked to several women, which basically means in royal terms that he was a filthy whore and he whored filthily, just stuck it anywhere.
Ew. And he was apparently like really tall, and so you know
Ew.
how when somebody's telling you a story about like how a dude like fucked around, like did them so dirty. I'm like, wow, he sounds tall. Like that's the type of person.
I mean, that's why we talk about Party City Skeleton. That man's like what, like a foot and an inch taller than me. I don't like. I don't, you gotta meet me eye level now. I don't like that.
That's why I was out with the Red
They're
Scare the other day.
predators. It's like something evolutionary about a tall man that makes my hackles raise now.
I'm dead. No, I was out with the Red Scare, and I was trying on different shoes. He's like, I never see you wear flat shoes. I'm like, that's because you're like a fucking giant compared to me, and I don't like feeling like a small child. You to look down on me like while we're talking. So I always wear heels when I go out with him.
Yeah, like it's kind of embarrassing with PCS. I think I showed you like my baby shower pictures, but I was wearing heels so I wouldn't look so childlike at
I
my
wear
baby
heels to
shower, so
my
it wouldn't look bad. But on the flats, like I was at like what, like his like right below his rib cage, and they were like, "Ooh, ooh boy,"
midget.
yeah, like ooh. And they like saw my belly big. They're like, "You're gonna have a rough time."
Oh, oh
But
my
yeah, we don't
goodness.
like tall men, so fuck you, Philip, for that too. So by the time he was 20, he served in World War II in the Navy, and he grew a really grody beard in the time there, and it was really nasty. It was like one of those flesh beards, men with like light hair. And it's like it
Yeah.
melds into their flesh. It looks like they got like, yeah, I don't like that. I wish I didn't
Mm.
see it, but they put it in his article. It's like right there with him smiling next to the boat. Like,
Surprised they even let you grow a beard in the Navy.
well, he was like a prince. I feel they just let him do anything. He had like command of the ships and everything. He just like walked on there like king shit. Like, I'm a prince. Hope you don't die. Those are my credentials.
I'm dead.
So he first met Elizabeth the first. No, the second.
Wait, was she Elizabeth 1 or 2?
She's two, right?
Yeah, that's right. She
Yeah, I
is.
did
Because the
about
first one was the Virgin Queen
the OG, the
that was
redhead.
Henry VIII's daughter. Was
Yeah.
Henry the First, or I'm sorry, Elizabeth the First. So she was number 2.
Yeah. I guess I was just I don't know. There's just only been I don't know. We're getting sidetracked. But let me go back. He met Elizabeth when she was 13. And apparently they had fallen in love then. They were exchanging letters. Very nice, very sweet. But the problem is with Philip, the only thing that he could give her was dick and bubble gum. Like the man had no land. He had no time. He really didn't really have all he had was like, oh, I'm a prince, but I don't got a kingdom or a castle or
He was
money.
Euro trash.
Yeah, I'm just, But I got Nazi sisters, and Elizabeth's like, oh, she was into it. She was into it, I guess. So they married. Elizabeth's mother wasn't into it. She called him the Hun, and that was really derogatory.
Like an invader, or like the
Yeah, just like,
Attila
who
the
is
Hun.
this? Why is he talking to my 13-year-old daughter? Well, they couldn't say, who is this dude? They're first cousins.
Oh yeah, she knew. She knew him.
She knew him well. She knew him.
God, first cousin. That's close.
Yeah. So, um, yeah. So he can't be called a king because he married into well, this is going to be a big spiral. It's not a circle, it's a spiral. He married into the royal family that he was already a part of. He was a first cousin. So he can't really be called the king, so he's a prince consort, which is a special title, but it sounds like he's a hoe, doesn't it? Like he sounds like he has to be like in silk when he presents himself to Elizabeth, like see-through silk, and he has to do a little dance for her, doesn't it?
It does. And actually, it's funny because so Queen Camilla, who is the current queen, who is Charles's wife, she was also supposed to be like a queen consort, and she promised, or Charles promised Elizabeth, that she would never take the queen title. And obviously that's not true, but I mean, what could they do about it? He's king now. So people say that Queen Camilla is like successfully salt burning the royal family, which if you've seen Saltburn, is basically about a guy who he becomes enamored with like the idea of being like nobility, and so he like worms his way into a family and then just destroys them from the inside and ends up inheriting all their property and wealth and everything. And that's what Queen Camilla is allegedly doing to the royal family right now. But
Allegedly.
but the one thing that Prince Philip did say, he's like, fine, I won't take the king title, whatever. He's like, I'll stay a prince, but he's like, the kids have to have my last name, which was unusual at the time. Usually they would have the last name of whoever's the actual ruler. So she was like, okay, fine. So they got the name Mountbatten. Hashtag, no, not hashtag. It's Mountbatten hyphen Windsor. So that's her last name.
That's very progressive for them. He wanted to insert himself. For
He's like, I'm a man. I'm not gonna wear silks and dance for you forever.
little symbols on his fingers. It's a terrifying image because he's so tall.
Oh god.
So yeah, he was just kind of. He didn't really do much, like they have to was like obligatory that they have to like go around do charity work. His main focus on charity work was to make Britain not fat. That was like the biggest thing that I saw. He was really, really passionate about that. We'll talk
He
about
was like
that
the
too.
Michelle Obama of Britain.
But very, very mean about it. He was
Right.
he was not gentle like Michelle. And yeah, when like confronted with like well, I wouldn't say that's like affairs of the state, LOL, talking about like who is it? Charles and his Camilla. Basically, like, wrote a letter to Diana and Charles, like, like, can y'all stop, like, get right with God? And he told Charles, like, be a man. Like, why are you doing this out in the open? This is so embarrassing. Back in my day, our
We cheated
mistresses
in
wouldn't be
private.
vaulted around. This is humiliating.
Which, I mean, he, as a prince consort or whatever, he was in a crazy like position because, like, if he was the king, he could just cheat publicly, nobody would care. But with Lizzie being the queen, he couldn't like publicly embarrass the shit out of her. So he, I think, probably also was a little bit jelly because he's like, I can't get away with it. You can't either. But Charles just ignored him. He's like, fuck you, dad. Get out of my DMs.
Yeah, and he just continued embarrassing the hell out of everybody. I mean, Charles is just an embarrassment. But you know what's more embarrassing? All of the shit that Philip said when he could speak, when he could string a coherent thought together. This is what we say when we mean British mean. Right. Well, what we say, like, that Charles is embarrassing, but when Philip could string a coherent thought together, the things that would come out of that man's mouth were just, I mean, you know how, like, you have an intrusive thought, but you don't say it? This is coming deep from the recesses of his mind. Like, you don't even think of that first, but he just said it. And he was just known for it. He was just like, oh, well, I just put my foot in my mouth. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, what you're going to do. I'm the prince consort. So you can tell how embarrassed Elizabeth probably was having this man around.
Yeah. So what did he say? He said he was known for being an unapologetic racist, particularly towards the Chinese.
He really was.
He was famed with saying, oh god, I'm quoting him, okay? This isn't me saying it. He said,
It feels dirty to even say it.
it does. He said, if it had legs and it wasn't a machine, the Cantonese will eat it. Bold words from an Englishman, considering, but he said that about Chinese people.
While he was in China.
Yes.
And
like, oh my god.
So they took him down to a trip so he could get close with Australia, and he asked an Aboriginal entrepreneur, he's like, so what do you do in your spare time? Do you throw spears?
Just an entrepreneur minding his own business. Do you chuck spears in the bush? Like, what? And who? What?
That's so racist. Okay, you like, Aboriginals are basically black people.
I know, right? In
I'm
Australia.
the same umbrella as us. So somebody coming up to me like, got a bone in your nose? Like, the chuck some spears? Like, sir.
Back up.
What?
He also said a prostitute and a wife are basically the same thing, but a wife is more moral. Like, talking about himself, basically. Like,
yeah, like, she's got me. But,
it's more of a moral position.
yeah, he's got a high up thing. He told deaf children, I don't know why he told them this, I don't know if they could hear them or not, but he told deaf children at a concert, no wonder you're deaf listening to this.
Like, what? Like, did he sign it? Like, no.
Oh yeah, he had an interpreter? Like, he just tapped the interpreter, tell them this.
This is music is trash. Oh my god.
Oh, this one is good. He commented that an army cadet that was blinded by an IRA bomb, because Elizabeth asked, she was like, oh, sir, have you regained some of your sight? And Philip just straight up said, no, he didn't. Look at the tie that he picked out. This man sacrificed his eyes for England.
So ableist. So fucking ableist. Oh, it's so shocking.
Said
Then
and can't cook.
yeah, like really, nigga, British women can't cook. Like, you can't cook, bitch. Y'all have your beans with your tea, and that's how you like it. Like, get the fuck out of here. He said everybody was saying we must have more leisure. Now they're complaining that they're unemployed. This was during the 1981 recession. Like, cruel. So we have racist, ableist, elitist, and oh, there's more, animalist. I don't even.
So he went to Australia again. I don't know why they brought him back. And they were like, "Oh, look at the natural animals. Look at the animals that we have here. Isn't that cool?" And they showed him a koala bear, and they were like, "Go ahead and touch it." And he was like, "I'm not petting that thing. It's going to give me a ghastly disease." But it's like fair because they do have ghastly diseases. Like what? Like 80% of koalas have chlamydia that can be transmitted to you if you touch your mucous membranes.
Right, but it's like,
So
damn, put on a glove or like don't just keep that to yourself. The koala probably went, like,
can you imagine him like? I can imagine him putting his arms up like Mr. Burns into claws, like, "Ooh, ghastly disease."
ghastly disease. He was talking to a 13-year-old
Oh God.
who was telling him about his dreams, what he wants to be when he grows up. He says to the kid, "You're too fat to be an astronaut."
Great, like that was the actual quote. He didn't sugarcoat it. He was like, "You're too fat to be an astronaut."
Like, what
Didn't
the
even give him any tips because
fuck?
fitness. He was the Michelle Obama of England. He was like the fitness, guy, and he was just like, "You're too fat."
He didn't say eat less or work out more, or just too fat to be an astronaut. Like, he was 13. He had time.
Like, we can't send you up in space. You'll come coming right back down. Can't have that.
Oh, good lord.
Okay, and he when they asked about him about his age, I think he was around like 80 around that time. This man lived a really long time, way longer than he should have.
Mhm.
And they just asked him like, "Oh, how you doing, Philip? How's age treating you?" He was like, "Bits are beginning to fall off." Just left it as that. And they're like, "Oh, Jesus, what bits?" So yeah, bits did indeed fall off, with him finally dying in 2021 due to old age, but not before gracing and or cursing the world with his issue. Charles, the goofy-headed, big-ear motherfucker, and the girl, nobody really talks about her, Andrew, we shouldn't talk about him, and Edward, and nobody really talks or care about him because he's pretty he's unproblematic. He minds his business.
Yeah, he's not a dirty sex freak like Charles or an alleged pedo like Andrew. So actually, Edward and his wife, I want to say her name is Sophie, they were kind of just like in the background, minding their own business. They really weren't that public. But when Harry and Meghan like left famously and came to America, Edward and his wife like stepped up to take on more of their duties. And so that's why they're only recently becoming like kind of public. But there's no like, as far as we know, there's no like skeletons in their closet. So that's probably why nobody talks about Edward. He's the normal brother.
Yeah, he's just there. He was the youngest. They probably like just let him sit off in the corner.
Yeah, I think he was an accident because he's like significantly young from the others.
Oops. Come on, Philip.
Oopsie.
So yeah, so Philip was like a racist, old, ignorant, but I don't know if he was like so much of a hateable baby dad. I feel like he was a man of his time, like a old, rich British guy born in the 20s. That's exactly what I would expect him to say to anyone at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. Typical racist, ignorant old white man.
And he may or may not have slutted it up while he was married to Liz. But again, that's of the time. And women then were like, she was a damn queen. I don't know why she looked the other way, but she did look the other way. If it did happen, she was like, I
She was
can't do
like,
it.
"Let him have this." It's like
Yeah,
when
like,
it's like when you know what, like if you ever go on like a dating site and you see men on there that are married and they'll tell you like, "Oh, I'm married and I'm old," and it's like, why would anybody want you? It's like, my wife knows, she gave me permission. I've lived there, like, here, take this stupid little thing, go in the corner, have fun, like, this is all you got. That was
oh,
basically his life. He had nothing else going for him. He was a prince consort. He had to beg for his kids to have his last name, so she probably felt sorry for him.
yeah, she's like, I'm really the one doing the work. You just gotta look pretty and stand next to me at these events so I don't look like.
And don't embarrass me too much.
Yeah, just like be really, really quiet if you can. Don't say too much racist stuff. But he couldn't do that. So I feel like he's kind of bad. He was partly responsible for unleashing his two really fucked up sons on the world. So that definitely says
Mhm.
something about his parenting or lack of, because you know he just like threw him at a nanny
Yeah,
and
and
went
private
right back
schools.
to assaulting people of color and people with disabilities.
Oh my god, I love the little titles you put in our show notes. It's Charles, your affair is ready. Like Netta and Charles. If you're not what's that word? Like constantly on the internet, then you probably have never heard of Netta and Charles, and just keep it that way. Keep it that way. Um
You're better for it, honestly.
much better off not knowing who those people are. But so King Charles III. That's his royal name. His real name is just Charles, but so when they ascend to the throne, they can pick a different name, and that's their like king name. It's dumb, but anyway. So King Charles III, he was born November 14th, 1948, Scorpio. He's the first.
Really?
He's like, "What'd you say? Fuck me for?"
Like you see my face, I'm like, what?
Oh goodness. So he grew up basically ignored, and he was physically distant from his parents because Philip forced him into boarding school instead of just keeping him at home. Pretty sure he went to the same boarding school possibly that Philip went to, but he got bullied there pretty bad. And I mean, it's like you want to feel bad, but it's like once he grew up, you see the type of person he is, you're like, okay, maybe he deserved it. But um so he went to college instead of going into the armed forces. And he put nerd, but because that's what they do in the royal family, they go into the armed forces. Even Elizabeth, like they all did it. But eventually they pressured him to join, so he did go. And he was a whoring whore who whored, having numerous high profile girlfriends that he was closely related to because he was told by his great uncle, Lord Mountbatten, to sow his wild oats. But don't sow them too far now. So he was like banging his cousins, as is tradition. Lord Mountbatten. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me back up. Let me back up because this is what it's like when we were talking about how it sounds like we could be talking about a trailer park. Like you're just out here in the streets banging your cousin because your uncle told you to. Like what?
Yeah, like that's a trailer park thing. You go over, you got a bottle of moonshine to give to the ancestor that's in his rocking chair. He's half blind. He's like, you know what you gotta do, boy? So wild oats. Go ahead to Daphne over there, next trailer, and you're like, well, that's my cousin. He's like, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, she's experienced, and I know. And you're like,
Oh
how do you
God,
know? How do you know?
Lord Mountbatten, how do you know? So Lord Mountbatten, he wrote him when he was 25 years old. Charles was 25. Go bang his 16-year-old granddaughter. So that would have made that his cousin. And Charles was all for it. He was like, okay. But luckily, the granddaughter's mother, Lady Brayborn, who was also Charles's godmother, said 16 was a little too young to get Mountbatten. So she wouldn't allow that to happen, thankfully. And they arranged a trip to India together while Charles waited for her to ripen a little more, which is literally 4 years later. Yeah. So Philip's concern was his baby boy would be outshone by the famous Lord Mountbatten accompanying them and not much else. But no worries. Lord Mountbatten actually got by the IRA in 1979 via a boat bomb. Boom. So, sorry, gross pervert. He got blown to
They sunk his
bits.
battleship.
And so Charles actually proposed to the young girl like immediately after that. Like she just lost her grandfather, grandmother, and younger brother in the bombing. So terrible timing, zero empathy. It was like he literally was just trying to boop jump on the situation. Like, oh, maybe a moment of weakness, I can get her. So she said, "Fuck no," for several reasons. One big one was that like joining the royal family even more than she was already in it. Um, which we should mention this actually. So, most women over there, like in the UK, they they read the news, they see what it's like to be a member of the royal family, and they're like, being born in it, okay, you can't control that. But marrying into it, hell no. And so that's why you'll see a lot of these people will have affairs and stuff with them, but they typically won't marry into it because once you do, you have zero privacy. They literally own you. Like, they own everything you do. They watch you, they listen to your phone calls. If you have kids, they own the kids. You're just stuck in that forever. Like, look what happened to Meghan Markle. They treated her like absolute crap. Like, she could wear a black dress, and they're like, "Why is she so emo?" And then wear a white dress, and they're like, "What does she think she's like a virgin?" Like, something just crazy shit. And so that's the theory of why, like, Harry had to, like, find somebody who basically would have no idea what they'd be walking into. And Meghan Markle even describes, like, they took her passport away when she they, like, would not let her leave.
Oh,
So they
hell.
basically they basically had to escape. So, anyway, so that's why part of one of the reasons why she said no. Also, what a terrible timing to ask that. So, um, Charles was actually he met Diana Spencer in 1979. He was actually dating her older sister at the time, but, I don't know, it didn't work out for whatever reason, so he saw Diana, and she was, like, young and naive, and, people called her Dutch because they were like, "Oh, she always wanted to be like a duchess, like, she's very, like, a very good girl, like, she's, like, the perfect royal wife." So he wanted to marry her around 1980, but he had no real romantic feelings for her. He just thought she'd make a good wife, from what he was taught, and so he pursued her relentlessly. And someone asked if he was in love with Diana. He was like, "Whatever in love means." This is a terrible thing. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine?
Yeah, and he just,
So
like, shrugged his shoulders, like, she was and, like, Diana was like, "We'll just get through it with love," and he was just like, "Well, whatever in
mm,
love means."
terrible. And so Diana was just, naive, an easy target. She was young. And he was quoted as saying she was young blood that might amuse him. And that young blood of Diana's was also, no surprise here, distantly related to him through the Tudors. And in the show notes said, "There is no family wreath at this point. It's a twig. It's just a family twig."
Horrible.
Again, trailer park. So Charles married Diana when she was freshly 20 years old, and he was 32. Ugh. Both were miserable, but especially Diana. 13 years his junior in a rushed marriage to a royal fuck who wasn't even, like, into her at all. He wasn't even nice to her, and he only met her face to face 13 times before they married. And she suffered from bulimia because she was just so miserable, like, again, like with Meghan Markle, so she also struggled with that, like, not eating because they just suck your soul from you, like, they wouldn't even let her, like, have I think a Twitter account, like, she couldn't talk to anybody, she couldn't post anything, everything was just monitored, like and so Diana, she couldn't, like, have friends, she couldn't do anything, she couldn't go anywhere, and so when she was 4 months pregnant with William, she was so depressed. She was like, "I don't wanna bring a child," and then she threw herself down the stairs, which probably, like, shook him up a little bit, and that's why he's, like, the way that he is, but anyway, I do not like William, and we'll get to that in a second, but
He's coming, but not the fetus.
it was like, Jackie Chan's son, like, he's just threw
Back
him
to throwing
around a bit too
babies.
much. Go listen to that episode if you haven't. But anyway, so she had William in 1982 and Harry in 1984. She suffered from PPD, postpartum depression, which comes for us all. So if you're listening to this and you have never had a child before, don't think it's not going to happen to you. It does happen to us all.
It's very
So
sneaky too, like, you'll think that you're
mhm.
fine until, like, somebody points out that you're acting weirdly, and you're like, "Oh, you know what? That actually isn't like me."
Yeah. So She had PPD, she was self-harming, and her bulimia was just getting out of control, like, she was just fading away. So, Charles was cheating on her constantly. His main OG side chick mistress was Camilla Parker Bowles, and Diana was like, "You know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna cheat too." And she fucked this guy named Captain James Hewitt, who, in terrible side nigga fashion, wrote a book about the affair. Like, come on. You don't see Camilla doing something like that. She's sneaky. She's just doing her whole Saltburn thing.
She's
And
a really good side chick. I gotta give her that.
right. That's why, she literally got the crown from. So in 92 they separated, but they didn't have plans of divorce yet. In 93 there was a leaked tape. Oh, why do I have to read this?
You gotta.
There was a leaked tape. It was a recorded phone call between Charles and Camilla, where Charles said that he wished, oh, make me nauseous. I have a weak stomach, you guys. Charles said that he wished he could be Camilla's tampon so that he could always be inside of her. Oh,
Oh, you
ugh.
know what's fun too? They said during that phone call, I forget how they did it, but for some reason, when he called her and told her that, for some reason, it also played on every single baby monitor in England at that time.
What?
So people were like listening to his heavy breathing. I'm gonna
Oh,
be your
no.
tampon.
Oh, God.
Like, I wonder how the baby's doing. They turn on their baby
When the babies aren't doing good. It's me, I'm babies. So imagine hearing that. So she was like, no, I'm done. That's disgusting. So they ended up just sharing custody of the boys. They got divorced in 1996. And the Queen Elizabeth and Philip were like so embarrassed by those tapes. But what could you do? It's already out. I mean, Charles was like, whatever. So Diana was basically like, Charles is gonna be a shitty king, just like he was a shitty husband and a shitty human being in interviews, is what she said, basically. And so suspiciously, almost exactly a year after the divorce was finalized, Diana dies in the infamous car crash by paparazzi, quote unquote. The car crash, the one that conveniently couldn't be witnessed by anybody because it was conveniently happened in a tunnel in Paris. And I was on a boat once in Paris and we like sailed. We sailed past that bridge. And I didn't know actually that she had died there, but I sailed past that bridge and the boat like captain or whoever the fuck was like, if you look over to your left, this is where Diana died. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just in Paris trying to enjoy a leisurely
Thanks for
cruise.
harshing the vibe.
Yeah. I'm like looking at my friends, they're looking at me. We're like, yo, get me off this slave ship. So in 2003, Diana's butler revealed that Diana had written a note in 1995 that Charles was planning for her to have a fatal car accident so he could have a clean break and remarry. And then when he was confronted with the note by the police, Charles said he had no idea why she would have these feelings.
Mm.
Curiouser and curiouser. So he had his loyal side chick, Camilla. He married her in a plain ass civil ceremony. It's not like the normal weddings they have at like Westminster Abbey or those other fancy churches. So the Queen and Philip did not attend. Apparently, and they're so good at like rewriting their history, but apparently Lizzie privately supported the union, but she felt that it would be a bad look to publicly support it because it was so scandalous, right? Like Diana died, like he divorced her, like, and he was cheating on her. The tapes got leaked. Like, you can't be associated with that. So she didn't want to attend because she felt like it would be a bad look. But they were basically like soft launching her into the royal family. Like when I said earlier, they made her swear that she would never become queen. Hashtag Saltburn, because look at her now. But anyway, Diana claims that he was a good father despite everything and that he helped Harry through a lot of his adolescent like BS after She passed, so that was good. Moderate improvement from Ship 'em Off Philip, which I'm like, again, this is where we see in this show time and time again where the bar is in hell for baby daddies. Like, you
It
basically just
really is. I'm like, what am I measuring against?
right, you basically just have to not hit them. And then it's like, yeah, he's pretty good.
I mean, like, oh, what's the worst that a man can be? A family annihilator. So that's an improvement.
So Charles like struggles to use a pen. I think something's actually wrong with his hands. Like he has some kind of blood pressure issue. I
Oh
mean, you know
yeah,
how
his
they
sausage finger. Why
girl,
would
they
you remind me?
intermarried so much. It's like they're all fucked up. So he struggles to use a pen. Like there's a video of several videos of him struggling and like yelling at staff trying to help him, like, get away from me, I can figure it out. Like clearly you can't, nigga. Um but anyway, so he raised William, who is also a shitty baby daddy. And as we see on this show, the shit apple occasionally falls from the shit tree. I mean, we're not talking about Harry in this. I mean, Harry also had his moments where he was dressed like a Nazi and stuff.
He's
But
gross, yeah.
but it seems like he actually apologized and moved on from that and learned. But William, as we'll see, is a shit apple on the shit tree. So
He's fully indoctrinated. I feel like nobody really
mhm.
wanted Harry there in the first place. That's why he could break free. They're just like, go if you want to. We don't give a shit.
The spare.
We'll call you when we need you, which is never. Bye.
Bye.
All right, we are moving on to William. Prince William, William Fancy Son, also known as Billy Bald Thornton.
Only to us.
Only to us, but yeah, he's probably be sued if we said that too much. But yeah, he was born June the 21st, 1981. He's the heir apparent, and he is bald.
Bold.
He's known as Willie, which I hate, and Wombat. He was called Wombat by Diana, which I thought was really cute. But he was also regarded as a little shit when growing up, following after Philip. But boarding school, because they shipped him there too, I think that just seems to straighten him out. It beat the hell out of him, and he a couple of knocks put some sense into him, because they don't hold back in boarding school. They don't care where you come from or what you're doing. You're falling in line. They got the paddles ready as soon as you come through the door. They gotta wear kilts too. So can you imagine that sting?
Damn. They're like, pull your skirt up, boy.
Oh boy. Oh no. Yeah, so he was 15 when Diana died, and he was in the custody of Charles at that time. Hmm. And yeah, he reported her death left him numb and in a state of shock for years because Charles doesn't look like he would be the type of guy that would deliver news well. He just basically told him at breakfast, "Your mother's dead."
Right. Like I, I again, let's just allegedly. Like, so it was just planned just so well that he would have custody of the kids at the time. And you know what? Allegedly. Anyway, move on.
Yeah, very suspicious. So, in 2001, he met Kate Middleton at a fashion show that she was in, and he said she caught his interest because she was wearing a sheer lace white dress, which is so romantic.
And have you seen it?
I didn't
Because
want to. I
it
felt
was
like
not flattering.
I don't think anything that she wears is flattering for her, to be honest. They're like, "Oh, look at Kate, the style icon," and it looks like she's wearing like a piece of construction paper in
Just like
blue.
shit from the mall, like very basic style to this woman, but no, it's like she's just in this fashion show, and I mean, it just looks like lace netting, like it's just not cute. It's not cute. And that dress sold for like, I think it was like 100,000 pounds or something crazy like that, just because she wore it, and that's the fee dress. Like it's ugly. It's ugly.
It's
Sorry.
gross. So if you were around during this time, I think my sister was around during this time, and she said that he used to be the hot brother. He used to be very handsome, but it's like Diane's hand reached from the heavens and peeled his scalp back because he was starting to act too much like his daddy. and she had to snatch those jeans back real fast because Diana was a very pretty woman for a how can I put this nicely? An inbred royal blonde British woman. She was very pretty.
Yeah.
She had something going for her, but she took it all from him.
Yeah, I remember one time, because I mean, I used to think William was kinda cute. He'd be on the cover of, like, teen, like, girl magazines, and they're like, "Oh, the hot Prince Charming." And then I remember, I mean, some time passed, and I'm like, "That's William?" No hair, none. It was just gone.
Like
Like,
a raisin in the
that.
sun, man. They do not age well.
Mm-mm.
You know, all of them actually, if you look them up, they seem to kind of peak around that time, and they look like if you squint, like, oh, that's kind of like a handsome British man. And then you like 2 years later, just all like I don't know, it's like a gene sets off, and they just like it's like a pear that you leave out on the counter too long. It's not
Not a
like an
pear.
apple. It's like a pear. Like you see the bruises from the inside out, and you're like, ooh.
And it's like he always had bigger, like, teeth on the bigger side, but for some reason, when he lost all his hair, I mean, they just became like horse teeth. It was like, you can't focus on anything else. They're huge.
Oh, the teeth. It's the teeth, the nose that they all have, and the ears. It's like when that hair goes and those ears come out, it's like, jeez. No wonder you got all the gossip. You can hear me a mile away.
Oh, good God.
But yeah, he he dated and he lived together with Kate. It was very cute, you know. They had roommates at one point. They were living together. They got engaged in 2010 and they got married in 2011. So they were pretty going steady. They kind of
He
broke
was
up a
cheating
little
on her
bit.
the whole time
Yeah, she kind of they broke up a little bit, but they found each other again. He probably
because
cheated.
he's a cheater.
Yeah, he probably cheated and she was like, "I can't do this." But she came back. Or she was pressured. We don't know.
Right.
So Kate gave birth to George in 2014, Charlotte in 2015, and is it Louis or Louis? I don't know.
Louis.
It's Louis.
Mhm.
God, these people. In 2018, she had back-to-back pregnancies, and if you didn't know, she had really hard pregnancies. She had the hyperemesis that you get, so like she didn't have morning sickness. They said that she was like crawling around vomiting.
Ugh, that's awful.
Yeah, I don't think the stress of like having the royals around made it any better.
Mhm.
So yeah, he's a really shitty brother, and he kind of allows himself to be estranged from Harry and his family. Like your mom fucking died in like a really tragic event. You think that would bring you closer to your siblings, but siblings are weird. I have siblings. They're very weird. You would think things would bring you closer, but they don't. He kind of like aligned himself more with his father and the royal side than he would his brother, who's also
Yeah, who
suffered
you
that
grew up
tragedy.
with 2
Yeah,
years apart.
yeah, but yeah, he's just kind of like distant. It's very strange how like they just seem like different entities. Like, yeah, that makes me sad. So,
Mhm.
you know, who did you said made that comment? You said Charles said that. Yeah, there was a big
Yeah, I
thing.
thought Charles made that comment about, like, what color is Harry and Meghan's baby gonna be? Like, and I'm saying it nicely. I think she was saying it spitefully, like, it's gonna be a brown boy in our white inbred family. But if it was Kate, I'm like, damn, why do you even care, bitch?
Yeah, I think I looked online and there was hate for Kate because they said that she said that and they were like somebody on what was it? It was some gossip site. They were really pissed about it. The way that they asked the question, they were like, "Why did Kate Middleton from her coal mining family care?" I was like, Jesus.
Coal mining family.
They were pissed about it, but yeah.
Drag. They dragged her ass. But yeah, that's some trailer park trashy shit to say. Like, get the fuck out of here. Why do you even care? Like, these are kind of things like when people are like so super racist, it's like, does the color of the child and Meghan Markle is half white, by the way.
She's passing almost.
Right. And I saw this meme. It was a picture of it was a picture of their baby, Harry and Meghan's first son, and they were like, this is how they thought that he was gonna come out of the womb, and it had those Drake lyrics, "Yeah, I'm light skinned, but I'm still a dark nigga," and I was
Oh god.
like, "What?"
That's too much. Oh my god, we have to bring out the chart. We have to bring out the mulatto chart for this.
Oh, yes, the musties, the dusties, the
He
octoroons,
took his
quadroons.
mustache and he got the hell out of there.
Musties.
I mean, wouldn't you be happy that there's new fresh blood that's not
I
tainted?
apparently they're pissed. They're like, "No, you need to mate in the family or not at all."
They're like,
So
how
gross.
disgusting. His wife isn't his first or and second cousin.
Like, if somebody told me all this stuff happened in West Virginia, I'd be like, "Yeah, I
Well,
believe it."
sure.
Mad about not fucking your cousin? Okay. West Virginia, mountain mama.
Yeah. So back to old Willie. They say he's heavily rumored to follow in the footsteps of his father. He's his daddy's son. All right. So they think he's really into affairs, but he's way more sneaky about it and he has more sense like his grandfather. Like he's not bold enough to flaunt them, but he's also not smart enough to not have them.
Right. That's just what they do over there, um, and actually, like, there okay, so in the past, there was, like, the official royal mistresses, like, for example, in Henry VIII's time, for a time, Anne Boleyn's sister Mary was the official royal mistress, and, like, like France, there were official royal mistresses, they had their own apartments and lands, and, like, their family would get favors and lands and power, and so it's like, people try to act like it's not a common thing, but in the royal family, like, not having a mistress, honestly, would be a little bit weird, so they all just have to look away and, "Haha, boys will be boys," but now in the age of social media, it's just kind of a bad look, so
It is. It's like you can't even control yourself and also like that's like
it's
what.
embarrassing.
Yeah, it's like con- the mistress can release so much shit about you, and that's where we have to go about what was released about him because in this age where knowledge can go anywhere very quickly, he has earned the name the Prince of Pegging because apparently Cake Kate will not go in those chocolate trenches, so he has to find someone else to go in there and do it for him. Which is like a horrible image. And that somebody may or may not be Rose Hanbury, who is a British model, who's now actually suing the shit out of Steve Colbert for making a joke about this. So
Yeah, so we're just repeating what we heard in the streets. We're not making this joke 'cause this joke was already out there, so don't sue us.
it was actually really funny. I was like looking up, I'm like, well, why did they call him the Prince of Pegging? And somebody was like, oh, my mom's a real royal buff. Let me tell her about the Prince William affair. And they said that, "Oh, mom, go ahead, wrap yourself up, like catch up on it. I'll make you some tea." So they walked into the kitchen and were making tea, and like the mom came in with like her phone in her hand, and her mouth hanging open. She said, "Pegging."
What?
Can you imagine? Her innocence was shattered that day.
I'm weak. Oh my god.
So he's his daddy's son. I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, this is just what the royals do. They're just the men, whores. Like, the women, just like in every society, women are supposed to be, like, the chaste and pure chastity bearers, and the men are just out here just slinging it around to anybody.
Ew. There. I won't mention it. You can cut that out. We can just keep going.
What, the daughter? But yeah, there is a rumor that he fathered her daughter, which I'm like, if that's true, like, that's kinda fucked up, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I think that he wouldn't be stupid enough to leave a little royal baby running
They all
around.
did
I
it,
think she would've kidnapped
like,
it.
Henry VIII had, like, 10 royal bastards just running around, like, that's just what they do, and people are just supposed to pretend like it wasn't
Yeah.
a thing.
Oh yeah, I definitely wouldn't have told Henry VIII shit. I would have been blind, deaf, and dumb if I was
Yeah,
around
he
Henry
chopped
VIII.
heads.
And noseless.
Noses?
Because remember, he was like rotting from the inside out.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
he smelled really bad. Like more terribly than people that didn't bathe back then.
Just stank.
Didn't one of his wives like comment on his stink and he was like, "All right, that's it. You're getting the
Yeah,
cut."
she like showed up and she was like, "This is the king. This your king? Like smelling like this?" And he was like, "Nah, I can't do this." Anne of Cleves, and they just annulled it right away. It was not going to work.
That poor thing.
So we wanted to mention that Kate Middleton, there there was this like period of time where she kind of like went missing. And so Catherine Middleton, the last time we like really legitimately confirmed saw this woman was like around Christmas of 2023. She was going to church. Um then without any kind of announcement in January on the 16th she went to the hospital. They said the next day she had successful abdominal surgery. The day after that, William was photographed leaving the hospital between pegging appointments. Apparently, Kate got discharged from the hospital on January 29th. February 5th, they announced that King Charles has cancer. Oh no. Anyway,
Anyway,
February 18th, William attends the fucking BAFTA Awards. Still no Kate. Everyone's worried, like, so is she okay? You're out here partying. February 27th, William steps away from the public eye for a bit for a personal matter. He clarifies that this has nothing to do with Charles because nobody gives a fuck about Charles. March 10th through the 14th, there was this weird ass like Photoshop picture of Kate and their kids, which was posted for Mother's Day. And everybody's like, what? People, you could zoom in and like the hands were in the wrong place, the shoes were in the wrong place. Whoever edited it just did not know what they were doing. I mean,
teeth were weird. She didn't have her wedding ring
right.
on.
It
It
was
was
very strange.
disturbing.
So then the royal Twitter account or whatever ended up deleting the picture, and she issued a public apology after being called out over that fake ass photo. And the news agencies say that they no longer consider Kensington Palace a trusted source after they released a fake photo to them. So then March 16th through the 18th, we see Kate Middleton like wandering around with Big Willie at a farmer's market, but it doesn't look like her. And the way she's walking is weird. People think it's a body double. And because the footage is like fucking Sasquatch, you know, just like it's grainy, it's like weird. She's walking weird.
She did look like posh Sasquatch. It was hilarious how she just like lumbered around. They're like, Kate's okay.
Right. And I was like, this is weird. And plus, it's like she just had this major abdominal surgery. Like, it was just weird. So last week, or March 20th, staff at the London clinic got caught trying to peep at Kate's private medical records, which is really fucked up. Like, don't do that. But there weren't any leaks so far, anyway. And then 2 days ago, Kate revealed that she too has cancer. And unlike Charles, people actually really do care. And the statement was released in like an eerie video that looks a lot like AI. I mean, listen, I'm in my conspiracy theorist era, and I'm like, it's just weird. Like the mouth movements are weird. It's all weird. And Dee was like, the hair.
It doesn't even have her mannerisms. Like, there's so many videos that you see of her talking and like delivering small speeches and all of that, and just like the video just didn't give her, and her whole upper body is like frozen. I'm like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
that?
and her hairline looks sorry. Her hairline is giving lace front. like that looks like a lace front
It
BSS
was.
wig.
It was hard.
Yeah.
They didn't
They
even
didn't even
pluck.
pluck the lace. They didn't dye the lace to match the skin. Like she needs arrogant Tay to do their next bust down because that was not giving.
I swear. I mean, have you seen? I mean, like anybody, if you Google like white women lace fronts, they all have that weird like octopus cut where it's like layers right there, and then layers right there, then layers at the boobs, and it's the same freaking cut that she has. I'm like, that's not Kate. That's not her hair. Why is her hair like that?
Yeah, it's very strange. So check it out. But yes, in that video, she announces that she has cancer, and I mean, as we learn more, we will keep you guys updated just because we brought it up. Dee said that she hoped that Kate was out getting a BBL so she could get her revenge body and move on.
I really did. That would be so funny. I hope there's like another high profile disappearance and they just come back up just thick as fuck.
Yeah.
What if that happens to Putin? What if Putin's like, I gotta peace out for a little bit and he just comes back real thick?
I mean, Drake did it. So that is the 3 royal baby daddies. Um, who do you think is the worst of the 3 of them?
Charles.
Agreed.
Charles is
He's
a
so
dick.
nasty. Ew. And Queen Camilla is.
And he couldn't even have regular sex. Like, why did you have to tell that woman that she wanted to be her tampon? Like, why couldn't you just cheat on me with
And the fact that
dignity?
she liked it too, that made her even weirder. Like, ew, she like giggled in the tape. You can hear she's like, oh, you're so nasty. Like,
Real so
ew.
nasty. They were meant for each other in the worst type of way.
And if you had to pick one of the 3 to be your baby daddy, who would you pick?
Jesus Christ. Oh. No.
I mean, I'll say
Who has the least chance of like disappearing me? Probably
that's what I
Philip. He
was
seems
gonna
kind of
say
on. I mean,
because
he'll be really racist.
but he at least like, kept his little prince title, stayed out of grown folks' business, and then he just fucked off and died. So, um,
He probably like invent slurs I've never heard of. You have to sit at the dinner table.
it's like be like you jigaboom. It's like a jigaboom with an M. Like what?
I'm like, what does that mean? He'll like pull out like an old English dictionary that's covered in dust where the origins of jigaboo came from. I'm like, oh.
It's a dusty old tome from the Royal British Library. Jigaboon.
You're just like, oh, and there's just like a picture next to it of a really racist caricature. And you're like, why is there a section of this in their library? He's like, yeah.
Weak as fuck.
Oh, yeah, probably Philip. He's like the least physical harm.
And if I had to be any other baby mamas, I mean, even though Diana died, like she was loved by the people, and she did a lot of work for AIDS and HIV, like research and like showing that it's okay to give somebody a hug who has it. Like she was very compassionate, and I loved that for her. Who would you rather be?
I would say Diana ate down, but I'm terrified of car crashes. So I'd probably pick Elizabeth,
At least she was
honestly.
queen.
Because, like, yeah, she was queen. What's the worst
She
that could
did
happen
get
to her?
groomed at 13 by her first cousin, but
That comes with being queen. But, like, that's the trade off.
Oh man, yeah, Kate.
At least it wasn't like her 40-year-old uncle.
Ugh.
I think that was like the real trade off. I think she has some really terrible
Right.
options. She's like, Philip, God,
She
Philip.
had to pick somebody, and like Kate's situation is too unknown and scary for me. Like I just could not. Um,
I don't fuck
no,
with
fuck
Kate
that
either. I
bitch,
don't like
shady
her.
bitch. So,
That's why it's so hurt.
do you, do you think that Charles was involved in what happened to Princess Diana?
Absolutely.
Allegedly, yes, I agree. Absolutely. Like,
Absolutely.
and when the police like told him about the letter, and it's just like, what could you do? I mean, can you imagine them arresting a prince? Like,
Not even that. Charles was into like, I mean, if you look up what his brother was into, Charles was kind of into that stuff too. Like he was friends with all of them too, as well. So
really?
I wouldn't put any. Yeah, they were all friends with
Epstein.
Maxwell.
Oh.
And you know they used to make fun of Diana?
Who?
They were, like, hanging out they used to make fun of Diana.
Wow.
Andrew, Ghislaine, and because she was, like, close to the royals, Andrew, Ghislaine, and Charles, they all used to make fun of her. You know Charles was best friends with that DJ guy that was, like should
Which
I say it?
DJ?
Yeah, it was, like, this famous DJ guy in England, I forgot his name, but he was, like, known for, like, being a
Oh, the
DJ, he
radio
hosted
guy. No
him.
fucking way. I watched that documentary about him.
Him and Charles were best
Ew.
friends.
That dude, like
That's why he got to do anything that he wanted to. He's like, "Charles
that
is my
dude
best friend."
raped, like, every child in London from, like, a period of, like, a decade or more, like I forget what that guy's name
They
was.
didn't have to be alive. That man had keys to a children's
Hospital, and he would just go
hospital
in and,
door.
like, rape sick kids, like, come on. Who was that guy?
Yeah, but
What was that guy's
hmm?
name? I can't remember.
Let me look it up because you guys should actually check that out. But like, yeah, he was friends with him. Don't look rapey guy, England
Jimmy Savile.
radio.
Yep, and
Yep.
there's that documentary about it, and so he died before, like, anything could ever happen, but people knew, like, it was an open secret, and he had this TV show, it was called, like, um, I can't even remember what the show was called.
They were buddies though. Like,
Oh my
look at them.
god,
Oh wait,
ugh.
like they were buddy
It's, like, making
buddies.
like, I'm getting hives, like, ew. But, yeah, the documentary was good, so the documentary is called Jimmy Savile: A British Horror Story. It's a two-part series on, Netflix, and, he had this show called Jim'll Fix It, where he would do, like, volunteer and charity work, but he was really just, like, raping
Oh,
everybody.
yeah, he fixed it all right.
Um, do we think that William is in the process of pulling a Diana on Kate? I don't know. I mean, I don't know because the thing about, Diana, she was out here living her life, dating Arab men, partying, and I think it was embarrassing
Mhm.
the royal family, and they wanted to stop it, but Kate is like she's like the quintessential, you know, she just, minds her business, stays in the background, but maybe she was thinking of leaving him, who knows?
I think that maybe like she sacrificed everything. Like she's literally made herself like the perfect person
Mhm.
for him. And maybe she just saw too much and she snapped.
Yeah,
I feel like that could
so who
have been it.
knows what's going on with that. Um,
Poor Kate, but not really.
no. Let's give these guys ratings.
All right, so a one is going to be our worst rating, and that's going to be an IRA surprise.
I
You know
already
what that
vote
means?
surprise.
Ireland belongs to the Irish.
Stop.
That's how you feel about them.
Oh my god. Wait, before you go on, someone once told me, like, that drink, the Irish car bomb? They were like they're like, "That
Oh,
is such an offensive name for a drink," because they're like, "What if they had a drink over there called the 911?" Like, it
we
would
would
no, it'd
love
be
it.
that same level of offensiveness, but we still drink Irish car bombs. I mean, I don't, but ew. Okay, I'm sorry, go on.
Honestly, a 9/11 cocktail sounds like it would fuck me up. I think I would
We
order
have,
one.
there's some cocktails like the Never Forget and, like, things like that, and even people thought
Twin
th yeah, and
Towers.
people thought that was in bad taste, and I'm like, Irish car bomb is a real drink, but anyway, I'm sorry, go on.
There is a Twin Towers
Mhm.
cocktail. Okay, I'm laughing. Sorry. But number 5 would be tea and crumpets because it's like the least offensive British food I could really think
Yeah, it's
of.
better than tea and
It wasn't like
beans.
exotic dick. Yeah.
So what do you think?
I'd say I'd say a 1. You're in deep shit if you're pregnant by one of these
Yeah, I
guys.
mean, Charles, he calls himself a human tampon, and he's just disgusting. Um, Philip, he was just a racist and the OG colonizer, like, part of that.
He was literally just everything
Yeah,
in
basically, and
Stoic.
even new things we can't even comprehend, like
He hated things that weren't invented
he's like,
yet.
"One day there's gonna be iPads, and I'm not gonna like them. I'm gonna be a technologist." I was like, "Okay, grandpa, time to get to bed."
All right, Philip, let's get you to bed. Put on your silks.
Do your dance. Um, and then William, I mean, it's still unfolding really what his deal is. So I'm gonna be kind and say that he is probably like a 3, which is just like a balding, like, asshole cheater. Nothing too nefarious yet.
I give him a
A
2.
2.
I give him a 2 for not rocking with his
Mm.
brother. I feel like that says a lot
Yeah,
about
where's
his
the loyalty,
character.
bro?
Yeah. I feel like he was one of those, like, forgive me for saying, he's one of those, like, white brothers that are like, "You married a colored."
Right, and just pointing at her,
Mm.
"Colored!" Like, screeching, like,
She's
"Get her!"
brown-ish.
So,
Jeez.
that is our episode, guys. If you want to keep up with the show, where can they follow us, Dee?
They can follow us at WHY Baby Daddy Pod, and we are on X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and
Tik
we do have a
and
Facebook
TikTok.
now, and a TikTok. And our TikToks are getting popular. I love our
Yeah.
TikToks. Bree's in charge of
Yeah,
TikTok.
I just, like, post my hot takes and thoughts when I have them, which is not often, but I try to.
I always draw a blank when I log on to TikTok. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Then I get
It's
nervous. Then I
nerve-wracking
log
because it's
back
like we have
out.
a video on there that's, like, 110,000 views, and I'm like, "How is it that 110 people saw this?" Like, that makes me nervous.
People on TikTok are mean.
They're
They'll
just
just be
slut.
like, your eye is slightly
Right, like, I made
misaligned,
a
and that would just
joke,
ruin the day.
on TikTok, which most people got the joke, but it was like it was me and my daughter watching Dancing Fruit, and the caption was like, POV, you walked into a bar 2 years ago, and now you have to get up at 6 a.m. every morning to watch Dancing Fruit, and it's just a joke, like, because, 2 years ago, I walked into a bar, I met my baby daddy, and we dated for a long time. We didn't, like, hook up right away, but, like, we dated, and I guess some people were thinking that what I was saying was I just busted wide open, like, at the bar or immediately afterwards. So all these people were commenting on a video of me and my daughter, like, "That's how you get STDs, you should have wrapped it up." I'm like, "Oh my god," like,
People have no
they
media
really
literacy
don't, not
nowadays.
because
They
the
never
girl is clearly not even 2 years old, so it's like, how would that even, like, just know? So I just deleted them. That's the thing I like about TikTok, you can just delete their comments.
Yeah, it's gone.
Like, on
Goodbye.
Twitter, they could just roast your ass for drag you for a film.
Then they'll just keep it going for
Right.
years. There's still TikTok roast threads from like 2014 that are just
Right,
in the
haunts you
Hall of Fame.
forever, but TikTok, it's fine, but I think it's going away soon is what I keep hearing, so I don't know.
I hope not. That would be making me
Yeah.
pissed.
But anyway, thank you guys for listening. Please go ahead and give us a rating, and if you love us, leave a nice little comment about the show, what you like, what you didn't like, what you wanna see more of. You can DM us and, like, suggest, like, baby daddies for us to roast, we would love that. We keep a list that's actually very hilarious to look at, like, looking at all those names, so, yeah.
Like a hateful list. It's
It's so
really
funny. It's a hit list of bad baby dads. So, yeah, that's our show. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
bye bye.